Hey guys, Chuck Quinton here, founder of Rotary Swing, and now in this next lesson I'm going to show you how your body movement is making it impossible for you to ever be consistent. Most amateurs tend to do the exact opposite of what the best players in the world do, and as you saw in the video previously with the hand path, you saw how you're probably moving your hands literally in the exact opposite direction, and it's causing you to swing over the top and cast the club. Now in this video, I'm going to show you what's causing you to lose your posture and how to fix it and how to start moving your body exactly like the pros. The one thing that you'll notice that the pros tend to do, especially the most powerful, consistent ball strikers, is that during the downswing, their spine angle actually increases during the downswing, and most amateurs decrease. They actually lose their posture, they lose their tush line, their hips move into the ball, they stand up and then have to flip and scoop at the bottom. What I'm going to show you is a way that you've never heard before, how to maintain your posture and do it completely automatically so that you start becoming more consistent, because every time you change the angles in your body, it affects the path and plane of the club. So first, let's take a look at some of the best players in the world to see this motion in action, and I want you to watch a couple key things. One is the spine angle during the downswing, and two, the hip position in relationship to where they started at address at impact.
One of the most revealing angles that you can see is actually the bird's eye view. And in this case, I've got Tiger Woods here, and this is going to be an awesome view for you to help you understand what you're doing wrong in your swing and help you see it from a different perspective, how important it is to maintain your angles and what you need to do that. So I've drawn a red line here on Tiger's tush line, and you're going to note first that his hip goes deeper in the backswing. This is something we talk about a lot on RotarySwing.com. But then the big thing is that as he starts down, look how much deeper his hips are away from the ball. Again, with the exact opposite of what you're going to see from most amateur golfers, probably including yourself, as the hips tend to move in toward the ball. And this makes tons of room for his arms. And you can see just how much deeper his left hip is by the time he arrives at impact. It's a massive, massive difference, and again, the exact opposite of what 99% of amateur golfers in the world do. So when you understand how to change this movement, which I'm going to talk about in the second half of this video, you're going to feel so much more room. You're going to have so much more speed as you increase the radius of your swing arc and stop feeling so jammed up at impact. Now let's take a look at another tour pro. Now let's take a look at this from down the line, and we'll use Dustin Johnson as an example. So I've drawn again a red line on his hip line. You're going to see the same thing. His right hip goes deeper in the backswing. Again, the opposite of what most amateurs look like, as we're going to show you in just a moment. And then look at how much he keeps his left hip back behind this line into impact. And if we go back a little bit more and we put a line roughly on his spine angle, give or take, obviously there's some curvature in the spine, you're going to see that his spine angle is going to actually increase on the way down, creating tons of room for his arms, but giving him the ability to use the ground for leverage. You've got to get this left hip out of the way. It is a critical piece of the swing that I'm going to teach you how to do in just a moment. Now let's take a look at Jessica Korda's swing here on the right. Again, I've drawn this line on her hip. You're going to see the same things happen in the backswing. Her right hip gets a little bit deeper, and then as she comes down, she's going to maintain that line, get slightly past it. Again, maintaining these angles, maintaining her posture. Notice how much, which you will see in every great powerful ball striker who's using the ground and their legs for leverage, notice how much her head is going to drop during the downswing, which you're going to see me demonstrate in just a moment. Notice how the spine angle increases as she goes down. This is what's causing you to maintain your angles. As you move that left hip back, your spine angle has to go down, your head has to go down. This is a normal and good thing in the golf swing. Now that you've seen how the pros move, let's take a look at how you're probably moving right now. So let's start with the golfer on the left. I've drawn a line on his left hip, or on his tush line here, and you're going to see as he goes back, he maintains it pretty well. It doesn't really get deeper behind it, but then as is typical, and you're going to understand why at the end of this video, why this is happening, notice how he stands up. His spine angle is completely gone. He's basically lost his spine angle almost entirely. His hips have moved in dramatically to the ball. His arms have got no room to swing. You can see his shoulders up, jammed up by his face here. He's super jammed up. Why is this happening? You're going to learn why in just a moment. Take the golfer on the right here. You're going to see the same thing. A line on his hip at the start, and then note as he starts down, look what's happening. He's lost his posture entirely again. Let's take a look at another golfer. Same thing. We'll put a line on his tush line here. And then as he goes back, you're going to see the same thing happening over and over again. He maintains it a little bit going back, but then even here he starts to move forward onto the balls of his feet.
loading up for this counterclockwise rotation that's so devastating to the swing that the pros don't do. He's over the top. Now look, he's lost his spine angle. He's lost his hip line. He's moved completely into the ball. Let's take a look at another golfer. Same thing. We'll put a line on the hips here. As she goes back, you're going to see her stand straight up, lose that line. Actually tries to regather it on the way down, but is swinging severely over the top. Going to lose it all, come across, hit it off the toe, the dreaded over the top move. Take a look at another golfer. We'll see the same things here. Put a line on his hip, goes back, loses his posture, loses his spine angle, loses that tush line, the exact opposite of the pros. Why is this happening? That's what I'm going to talk about next. As you just saw, amateur golfers tend to literally do the exact opposite of what the pros do in their swings. So how do you fix this? That's what we're going to talk about next, because it's a very, very simple fix, but I promise you, you've never heard this before. So pay close attention and make sure you stay to the end of the video, because I'm going to show you how to fix this stuff with your body movement so that you make it impossible to swing over the top, cast the club, all these typical swing flaws, chicken wing, flipping, scooping, all of that stuff, losing your posture. You're going to learn how to fix it in just a moment. Now, as you saw in the previous video in this series, most pros have their hands look like they move straight down in the downswing, and most amateurs move out over toward the ball. I showed you a simple fix on how to fix that, but if your body isn't moving correctly, you can still overcome it and still swing over the top and cast the club. So how do we fix this with our body movement? To understand how to fix this, you've got to first understand why the problem exists in the first place. Let's first look at what's actually causing you to move incorrectly in the swing, where your hands are moving out over the ball and you're losing your posture and your right shoulder's coming forward and you're falling forward off your losing balance, all those things. The reason that's happening is probably not actually your fault. It's the way that you're being taught the swing. Most golf instruction teaches you that there's a backswing and a downswing, and there are moving in two different directions, right? In the backswing, if I'm a right-handed golfer, if there was a clock on the ground and 12 o'clock's in front of me, 6 o'clock's behind me, I'm rotating clockwise in the backswing, right? Makes simple sense. And in the downswing, I'm now rotating counterclockwise. It's not actually how the pros move. It's the reason the amateurs move the exact opposite. Pros don't try to switch directions and going from backswing clockwise movement to counterclockwise movement in the 10th of a second in the transition. That's way too difficult. That's way too hard, and that's why you're losing your posture. It's why you're swinging over the top, because you're trying to do something that's not possible. Think about this logically for a second. You've got a swing where you're loading up, going back, you're creating all this muscle power and tension, and then you, of course, want to unload that tension. And what's that going to cause you to do? Where are my hands going? Straight out to the ball. What's that going to cause me to do? Cast the club, swing over the top, look like every amateur on the planet, because you're trying to do the impossible. In the proper golf swing, the way the pros move is they're not trying to move clockwise in the backswing and counterclockwise in the downswing. They're only moving in one direction. I'm going to come back to this one direction stuff in just a moment, but first I want you to look at the things that are happening in your swing right now. If you're like most golfers and you're trying to have a transition in your swing from a backswing to a downswing, from clockwise rotation to counterclockwise rotation, what's going to happen to your body? Well, just common sense is going to tell you not only your hand's going to go out, but of course, I'm going to want to stand up. I'm going to lose my spine angle. My right hip is going to move in toward the ball. You hear this, the old puppy dog humping the fire hydrant. From face on, here's what's going to happen. I'm just rotating. I'm going to hang back. Does this look like somebody you know, or perhaps yourself? If you're rotating clockwise and then rotating counterclockwise, how would I ever shift my weight back to my lead side? Hanging back is going to lead to all these fat shots. So no matter what you do, if you're trying to transition from clockwise to counterclockwise rotation, you're always going to lose your posture. You're always going to stand up. Your hands are always going to move out toward the ball, and you're always going to cast the club. That's why so many amateurs do it. They're being taught to do this. Now, I'm going to shift my movement from two directions to one direction and watch what happens. So now, going back, what happened to the club? Are my hands going out this way? Am I losing my posture when I go this way versus this? What happens? Notice that my spine angle, if anything, has increased. Where has my hip gone? It's gone deeper. What have the club done? It's shallowed out. I went from moving in two directions to one. When you look at it face on, watch what happens. I've got all the lag in the world, Am I hanging back on my right foot? No, it's very easy for me to shift because I'm not trying to transition in the swing. I'm always moving in one direction, the same direction, and it's the exact same thing the pros have been doing for years, and nobody has ever been able to figure this out. Let's look at this again one more time so you can see how it happens when you combine it with what you learned in the previous lesson with your clockwise hand path movement. So watch what happens. I'm just going to be focused on moving my body always in one direction, and I'm going to then take my hands and create that clockwise movement, and you'll see the club shallows out, it's right through my forearm. I have lag. Again, I add that little clockwise rotation of the wrist. Lag for days. Pressure shift, secondary axis tilt, weight on the lead side, hip deeper. All the things that the pros do in their swing happens automatically. I no longer have the urge to hit from the top. That urge comes from switching directions, from going clockwise to counterclockwise. Get up and feel this for yourself. You'll feel if you load up in the backswing, the first thing you're going to want to do if your brain has built in the idea or you've been taught to have this transition to rotate in the opposite direction in the downswing, it's done, you're screwed, you're never going to fix it. You're always going to cast the club, you're always going to swing over the top. And not only that, it puts a tremendous amount of shear force on your spine. Feel this for yourself. Rotate back quickly on the backswing and then switch directions and rotate quickly in the opposite direction. How does that feel on your lower back? You're putting shear force on as you load one direction and switch directions and start going the other way. You can see as I add speed to this, my swing is going to look really smooth and effortless. It's not going back and then thrusting down on the way down. I'm moving everything in one direction. This is the key. As soon as you understand how to do this, everything falls into place. Your swing is smooth, you have rhythm, you have tempo. And what's really amazing about this is I'm doing this just through one simple feeling. That's it. I'm having perfect mechanics. My swing falls down perfectly on plane. I'm able to release the club. My body's in the perfect positions, just like the pros, all through a feeling. No mechanics, no swing thoughts, one simple feeling. All I'm feeling is this one thing of moving in one direction and all my mechanics fall into place instantly. So how would you like to learn to swing with perfect mechanics solely through feel? Not only that, it's one feeling. No more thousands of swing tips, no more thousands of swing thoughts, no more stress on your body. You can learn how to have perfect, proper mechanics through one simple feeling. It's the reason people are calling this the E equals MC squared of golf. It's the greatest discovery of golf instruction. They're calling it the Einstein of golf because it truly teaches you perfect mechanics through one simple feeling. So make sure you check the next video in this series because I'm going to share with you the secret to unlocking the keys to consistency so that you can start having power in your swing with no effort, no strain on your body, and start hitting the longest, straightest shots of your life.